Hello and welcome to the United Stand. It's the return of Saturday Night Live, so we will be pretty much without content, just taking your live comments, which is going to be really exciting. But also, in response to my sort of mini mic drop rant at the end of the video I did about Milinkovic-Savic, talking about my opinion on Mourinho and how he's sort of taking the piss out of the club, really. A few people have said over the last couple of weeks, you're always getting your opinion across about Mourinho. How's about a more pragmatic approach? Hence, how long will Mourinho last at Manchester United is something I want to get into tonight with the live comments, and also the people who aren't watching live, please do give your comments below. But basically, I've looked at this situation with Manchester United at the moment, and I believe we're only 7 points off the top of the league and we're not too far off top four. The next international break, we play Chelsea, Everton, Bournemouth and Man City. That's 4 games. My prediction is that after the next 4 Premier League games, we will be 13 points behind Liverpool, 15 points behind Chelsea, 9 points behind Arsenal and 13 points behind City. That is surely going to be sackable. And that includes us losing to Chelsea but beating Everton, drawing with Bournemouth and losing to City. So it's not like we're going to lose all 4, but I think we'll be 13 points behind Liverpool, 15 behind Chelsea, 13 behind City and 9 behind Arsenal, which would be 9 points off top 4 and 15 points off the title, which is an absolutely massive gap. And I think that is sort of what I wanted to express across to the people who are Mourinho in, is that, look, we can all start, holding hands and singing a tune, Mourinho in, and we can all do that. And you tell me the tune, I'll play it. I'm happy with that. If you want that, that's great. But reality bites at some point, and I just think that when I was reading some of the papers today, they're right. The fixtures we've got coming up, especially the next 3 fixtures, Bournemouth away, Everton at home and Chelsea away, obviously backwards to front, it's a lot different to the 3 games we've just had, which were Wolves, Newcastle, and I think, who else did we have? Wolves, Newcastle, and I forget the other game, but they're certainly tougher games. And I think that, for me, is, obviously I have my opinions on, I don't think Mourinho should be the manager of Manchester United anymore, but I also don't think I'm going to have to wait that long. I don't see it getting any better before it gets worse. I mean, just to reiterate why I think that's going to happen, if you look at our game against Chelsea, I think we'll lose that, but City are home to Burnley, so that's 3 points. Liverpool play Huddersfield, that's 3 points. Arsenal home to Leicester, that's 3 points. Spurs, I think, we won't get too far away from us because they're away to West Ham, but then the week after, we're home to Everton, but Liverpool play Cardiff, Arsenal play Palace, City play Spurs, Chelsea play Burnley. So we might win, but I think a lot of the others will win. Week after at Bournemouth, I think we'll draw. Arsenal play Liverpool, Wolves play Spurs, but Chelsea play Palace and City play Southampton. That's another 3 points for them. Then we play City, but Liverpool play Fulham, 3 points. Chelsea play Everton at home, 3 points. And Arsenal play Wolves at home, and I think that's 3 points as well. So that's what I'm trying to say, is that we've got such a tough run of fixtures, Juventus in there as well, that Mourinho needs to beat Chelsea, Everton, Bournemouth and City just to be in touching distance. When you look at what everybody else is playing, like I said, Liverpool have got Cardiff. There's some really winnable games. Chelsea have got a really good run. If they beat us, they've got 3 really winnable games after that. City have got winnable games as well. Yeah, Liverpool have got to play Arsenal. Spurs have got to play City. But they've all got winnable games because they've got squads that are playing really, really well. We've got to basically win our next 4 just to sort of keep the gap as it is. Because people say, well, we're only 7 points off the top. I'll tell you what, if we're only 7 points off the top at the next international break, I think it would be miraculous just to maintain that, because the fixtures we've got are a nightmare. So how long do you think Mourinho will last? And any other questions that you want to chuck in there, please do that as well. My prediction is that the next international break is probably when he will go. I think it will be up and down, but I think at the next international break, when you're double figures off the top and you're nearly double figures off 4th place, and it's November, then you've got to say that's the time to make a decision. Having said that, do I have any faith in the board in doing that? On the other hand, I really hope we beat Chelsea, Everton, Bournemouth and City and we start to build something, but I do think we're living on a fantasy island there and it's not going to happen. Am I high, or is it Mark's high and talk? What? I don't know what you're on about, Krista. Mark, what do you think to the rumours? Oliver Musley, please add something into there. I mean, I have heard the rumours about Manchester United being purchased by billionaire Saudi Arabian owners. Obviously Qatar billionaires own PSG. City have got their rich owners. I think it's an interesting thing, isn't it? Because there's a lot of talk about Saudi Arabia and human rights and things like that, and morally whether it's right that we're owned by people from there. But do you really want to get that political about Manchester United and who owns us? I mean, at the end of the day, football has gone to the dogs, really, because of the Premier League. They've allowed people to come in and own clubs. We've had the Venkis at Blackburn. Didn't they own like chicken farms and stuff like that? Multi-millionaires, but they bought it. We've had the disaster of Man City being owned by that Thai businessman. Aston Villa have had it with the Chinese fella. The Premier League don't really give a damn about who owns clubs. United never should have been bought by the Glazers on debt. So if what's better? American owners who basically just want to bleed us dry for profit, or Saudi Arabian owners who want to invest their oil money into other commodities so that when oil starts to be more widely available to the rest of the world and they haven't got a monopoly, they've invested that money into other outlets that are going to bring more money in. Manchester United is a brilliant business to own, but it's an even better business to own if you've got billions of money in the first place. Ideally, obviously, it's not my ideal solution. I look at the way the Germans do it, and I think that's how I'd like Manchester United to be run. I'd like to have ambassadors of the club, like they have Rummenigge and people like that involved in Bayern Munich, and I'd like more control from the fans, so to speak. But at the end of the day, I don't think it can be much worse than it is under the Glazers. We want rich people who actually want the club to be the best. I mean, look at Man City, look at PSG. Yes, they're owned by rich businessmen, but they actually want that brand and that football team to be the creme de la creme. And that's what we need at Manchester United. Glazers out, Peaky Blinders in, says John Sherrell. Board have nothing to do with how the players perform on the pitch, says Skunky Monkey 13. No, they don't. But they have a lot to do with what players we have on the pitch. Thanks for the contribution, James Weldon. I want to blast through loads of quick fire Saturday night classic Q&A tonight. So any questions you want to chuck at me, and we'll blitz through it. And if you want to say how long you think Mourinho is going to last as well, that'd be great. James Weldon says, do you think that Pochettino is the best candidate? No, I think Laurent Blanc is the best candidate, but as I said before, I'd be happy with Blanc, Zidane, Pochettino or Jardim. Be absolutely ecstatic with them. I would cry blood if it was Allegri, Simeone or Conte. Chelsea is not Newcastle, managed by another great moaner, says Manchester United Forever 18. Krista had the speed on, that's why I was talking very fast. How? Andy Stewart says German football is fantastic. The fans aren't treated like scum. The clubs are very well run. Ticket prices are ridiculously cheap as well. Well, I don't know whether anybody follows me on Twitter at Mark Goldbridge, but I tweeted something out last night. If you watched England versus Croatia, I did a watch along on That's Football, and that showed to me what I've been trying to say is what the United Stand's all about, really. Real fan opinion for the fans, by the fans. That's what the United Stand is. We are massive about fans because you are the lifeblood of football. That England versus Croatia game last night was dead. It was dead. It was rest in peace. It was crap. Absolutely dead because there was no fans there. Oh, what a surprise. Fans make football great. Fans are the ones that the sponsors want their eyes of. Fans are the ones that their money means that footballers get massive amounts of money. We've become detached. We've become the mat that everyone wipes their feet on. But actually, that game last night showed exactly why fans are the most important thing in football. Unfortunately, we're so divided, even in our own fan base. Even in the United fan base, we're so divided. But if football fans actually had one united community for football fans, we could destroy football and we could rebuild it in the way it should be and stop these greedy bastards coming in and ruining the great game, because that's what's happened over the last 20 years. It's just, it's coming to the Premier League near you. Scudamore's wanted to do it for ages. This whole let's play a game in America or let's play a game. Well, Girona and Barcelona are doing it in January for La Liga. They're playing a La Liga game in America in January. That's coming to the Premier League very, very soon. Brilliant if you're an American fan, but actually, I just think it's all about this. It's all about this, isn't it? Mr. Johnson's made a contribution. He says Jose needs to be removed immediately with Carrick as interim. Director appointed before the season over to observe the club before changes. Interesting points. Pratim says, I've read in Google that Manchester United are discussing a contract with Allegri. I would cry. I've already spoken about this morning, but he doesn't suit United. In a sentence, Allegri is stubborn and pragmatic, and also he's only really good at taking over strong-minded players that have sort of lost their way a bit. He's good at coming into a club to continue a success or rebuild a success. He would have been good coming in after Sir Alex. He's not good coming into a club that's got a team full of spineless bottlers, and that's what United have got, really, to be honest with you. I want Mourinho to go, but I'm not blind to the fact that the squad is not good enough, and it's weak-minded. I mean, whatever happens, I always used to call Chelsea bottlers because they would down tools to get rid of a manager. A lot of the United players some of them have seen Moyes go, a lot of them have seen Van Gaal go, and all of them are going to see Mourinho go, aren't they? So if you're one of those players that's been here for Moyes, Van Gaal and Mourinho getting the sack, you've got to take a long, hard look at yourself. If you're here for Van Gaal and Mourinho, again, you've got to take a long, hard look at yourself. If you're just here for Mourinho, you've got to look at yourself. So, the players don't get away with it scot-free. I think we've had 3 bad managers, but the players have got to take a look at themselves as well. Son Goku says we need Zidane or Blanc. Look, whenever Mourinho goes, if we get Blanc, Zidane, Jardim or Pochettino, I'll be very, very happy. Keep the questions firing in. The Football Crew Show says Mourinho will probably still be at Old Trafford until the end of the season. Then the club will probably make a decision in the summer. I do agree with you on that. But I think, as I said, if people are joining me a little bit late, my prediction is that we will lose to Chelsea, we will beat Everton, we will draw with Bournemouth, and we will lose to Man City. And looking at everybody else's fixtures, that would mean at the next international break, after the next 4 games, we would be 13 points behind Man City and Liverpool, 13 points behind them, 15 points behind Chelsea, and 9 points behind Arsenal. So 9 points off 4th and 15 points off 1st. And that is at the next international break, and it's not even Christmas. That, to me, would be sackable. That's where I think we're going to be. Now, obviously, things could change. Maybe I've been a little bit harsh, but that's saying we won't lose to Bournemouth and we'll beat Everton. So, that's just looking at our rivals' fixtures, and they're all winnable. And with that, losing to Chelsea and City, we would expect that at the moment. We've got no right not to expect that. Beat Everton, we might not. It could be even worse. We could drop another 3 points, be 18 points off the top and 12 points off 4th place, in which place he's definitely got to go. But I do believe that the club do want Mourinho to stay. I do think that they want him to stay. And I think they will try and keep him for as long as possible. But I think it will get to a point where it's just impossible for that to happen. I mean, in a nutshell, we've basically... some fans and me to a certain extent, and all of you to a certain extent, we're hoping we're going to do something against Chelsea and against Man City and against Juventus. We are hoping that. But at the end of the day, we're nailing our flag to the mast on coming from behind to get a last minute winner against the team that's going to get relegated, Newcastle, at home. So there we go. James Wilden says, could ZZ win under a budget? Pochettino could work with less. So he's saying, can Zidane work under a budget? My feeling about United, and I've said it so many times, is that I think whoever comes into our club, they're actually going to get something that we don't see at the moment. Because yes, we probably do need to spend a bit of money to win a title, but I don't think we need to spend any money to be in the top 4. It's just all about picking the right team. I mean, you can have a midfield of Pogba, Fred and Matic, or Pogba, Fred and Pereira. We will never see it under Mourinho, but we could have that. We could have a front line of Martial, Lukaku and Sanchez, but we'll never see that. We could have Bay and Smalling, Dalot and Shaw with De Gea behind them. We could have a really good 11, but we just don't see it under Mourinho. So I think whoever comes in can instantly change things just by picking the right 11 and being a bit more offensive. Delit is the best young centre-back in the world, and he's only 19, says Mohamed Bashir. Apparently he's off to Barcelona. I mean, they're just buying up everybody at the moment. Fantastic video on Blanc, Mark. I knew pretty much nothing about him as a manager, really. I would definitely be happy if we appointed him, says Andy Stewart. Yeah, loads and loads of love on the videos we've done this week. It's been brilliant having an international break. I've done 4 sort of 8-minute videos on Blanc, Jardim, Pochettino and Zidane, and it's got its own playlist. If you go to the homepage, you can see them in a row. So if you don't know anything about any of those managers or very little, it's got the pros and the cons. And the Laurent Blanc one has had a lot of feedback, because a lot of people didn't realise what he'd actually done in his career, and actually he hadn't really ever been sacked for failing. It was just PSG being PSG. We got a good attacking team, says Justin Steele. 3 managers we've had are not attacking. Exactly. Thumbs up comment for me. Remember my thumbs up comment. If I give somebody a thumbs up for a comment, that's a bit like a Paul Hollywood handshake on the Bake Off. It's a big seal of approval. I'm a lovable guy, says Anaban. Good. Thank you very much. I'm feeling a little bit relaxed now after my FIFA Ultimate Team disaster this afternoon. My top 4 for this season at Utkarsh. You know what? At the moment, I can see Spurs dropping points on this next international break period like we will. And I think Arsenal have got very winnable games again. So I think Arsenal could start to get a bit of a cushion on Spurs. And then it's like, can Spurs keep their focus? So Chelsea, Liverpool and City, definitely top 4 this season. I would say Spurs, but the Spurs fixtures are quite tough and Arsenal's are quite winnable. So over a season, I think Spurs will rein Arsenal in. But I think at Christmas, the top 4 could be Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool and City. We won't be anywhere near it. Not at the moment. Arsenal will not win the league. Not in a million years. Not in a million years. Blanc is a good manager and should definitely be in the running for the job. But we will see, says Badman Curti. I've not heard him being mentioned at all, but he would be perfect for Manchester United. How long do you think Man United will take to sack Mourinho, says Diana? Well, we're just talking about that, Diana. I mean, if you want an honest answer from me, I think he'll go at the next international break. I think they'll give him the next international break because, we've got Juventus to play twice. We've got Chelsea, obviously. So what I can see happening is, as I said, I think we'll lose to Chelsea. I don't know what's going to happen in the Champions League. It's very, very difficult to gauge. I'll come back to that in a moment. I think we'll beat Everton, we'll draw with Bournemouth, everything will be a bit positive, and then we'll get beat by City. And then you'll see how many points we are behind. The City game, I think, will be the one he gets sacked after because it's the one just before the next international break. And if we get beat in that, I think that will be the tipping point. So I'm going to say the next international break. I don't think it will be any time before then. I'll be amazed if it's any time before then. I don't know what you lot think. I think it will be the next international break at the earliest. But it wouldn't surprise me if he lasted till the end of the season. It certainly wouldn't surprise me if he made it to Christmas. But I think it's how bad it gets and how big that gap gets between us and the top 4. And just looking at the run of fixtures the others have got compared to our tough October and start to November, I think that gap's going to get bigger and bigger and then the pressure becomes more and more. I mean, Ryan Giggs said it today. He believes that Mourinho's the man to turn it around, but it's going to be tough. And I don't believe he is the man to turn it around, but it is going to be tough. As for the Juventus games, very quickly, 2 games against them in the Champions League. Look, I watch a lot of Italian football, and what I would say is that the gap between Italy and the Premier League is still quite big. That it's a lot slower, it's not as quick, and I think United might be able to get results against Juventus that people will go, that's amazing. It won't amaze me if we get results against Juventus because the gap's there. There is still a gap. Most Premier League clubs do beat the Italian teams. Having said that, Spurs lost to Inter Milan. And also, Juventus are a very good team. Do I want Ed Woodward to leave the club, says Roy Rees. I want Manchester United to have new owners. That's what I want. And if new owners come in, does Ed Woodward get the sack? I don't know. Ed Woodward's done fantastic things for this club in relation to the business side of things. Unfortunately, most of that money goes out of the club and not into it. If that money was coming into the club from all the brand deals, Ed Woodward would be a bloody saint. He'd be brilliant. But because a lot of it goes out of the club, he's in the camp of the Glazers, isn't he? I also think Woodward, the rumours that he's involved in telling Mourinho what he can and can't do, that's ridiculous. We need a director of football, and Ed Woodward should just concentrate on the business side of things and be kept away from the football. That's what I think. I don't know whether sacking him is. Napoli beat Liverpool too, so spank me Santa as well. So yeah, the gap is definitely closing between the Italian clubs and the Premier League, but there is still that gap. It's still not quite quick enough. Napoli's result was fantastic because Napoli are weakened since they've lost Jorginho and Sarri, and I know Ancelotti's there, and Liverpool are on fire. But yeah, who would I like to bring in as a director of football? I like the guy from RP Leipzig. He was at Southampton and Spurs briefly. I forget his name. I like him. Yeah, I like him. I do. I like him. Name one player you would take from the top 6 side and why? Well, that's from Sophie. Everybody else, let me know. I would take. I wouldn't take a Liverpool player because of the rivalry. I wouldn't take a City player because of the rivalry. I'm not interested. I mean, to be honest with you, I've always liked Aubameyang. And I think I'd take Lukaku out for Aubameyang now. I'd also take Harry Kane out for Lukaku as well. So yeah, I think that's probably what I would do. I know a lot of people would probably say, well, let's go and get Alderweireld from Spurs. But personally, I just think that United, probably the number one position I would probably get is Kante from Chelsea. That's the one I would do. Because I think Kante with Pogba and Fred would be a killer midfield. get rid of Matic. That's what I would do, because yes, we need a right back. Yes, we need a centre back. Yes, Lukaku's not scoring goals. But United's biggest problem has always been, for a long, long time, midfield. You win and lose games on your midfield. And I think Kante would just take us up a level. What do you think about the Salman family from Saudi Arabia who were worth 850 billion, possibly buying the club? Another question, what do you think about Sir Alex being director of football? 2 good points there from Daddy Blugs. Thanks for the contributions, pal. Well, I've already spoken about the Saudi Arabian family. If they're worth 850 billion, I think United would go for 4 billion. That's what I think United would be sold for, 4 billion quid. And as Phil Brown said on the show last week, United, for me, are probably getting to that point where they're primed to be sold, if that's what the Glazers' long-term plan was, because they've got a lot of players on the edge of contracts. The club's probably about to hit its plateau of value because the playing side is starting to plummet, which means the value will plummet. So we're nearly, I would say, if you want to sell it, if they were looking to sell a company, we're nearly at that peak point, £4 billion. I would take the Saudi Arabian money over the American money at the moment, because I think that their owners would give fans what they want. Am I comfortable with it? No, but I'm not comfortable with the Glazers, who have got no love for Manchester United. They're not United fans, and they bought us on debt. So if you're telling me somebody's going to buy us and actually invest in the club and get us the best players in the world, then that is better. Obviously, morally, maybe there are concerns there, I agree. As for Sir Alex Ferguson as a director of football, Sir Alex Ferguson needs to enjoy his retirement. He had a very, very big, scary health issue in the summer, and he is the best thing that's happened to Manchester United in a long, long time, and sport in general. And I'm sure he could sort this mess out, but he gave us more than anybody could ever hope for, and he deserves his retirement. I don't think Sir Alex Ferguson should ever be mentioned as coming back to United. I did hear Hazard's comments about working with Jose again, Jazimar, and I think he's trolling because we're playing them next week. Why would Eden Hazard want to play for Mourinho when Mourinho would have him like Martial tracking back and not doing anything in attacking wise? So I think Hazard's trolling us because we're playing him next week. Yes, good comment here from Neville Littlejohns talking about Peter Lim. I read this today that, and I think it's a total nonsense, so I wouldn't even hold it against Mourinho. But when Mourinho's talking about witch hunts, apparently he thinks that Peter Lim, who owns Salford and has I think he owns Valencia as well. He's a good mate of Gary Neville, obviously. He is apparently the one trying to oost Jose Mourinho so that he can buy Manchester United. I don't think he's got the money to buy Manchester United. And also, it doesn't make any sense because he owns Salford. He's obviously good mates with the class of 92. And everybody in the class of 92 wants Mourinho to stay. I mean, you could argue Gary Neville kept Mourinho in a job last week with his rants. So it doesn't make sense that the owner of Salford is the one behind trying to oost Mourinho. Because if he was, he'd just have a word with Gary Neville. And last Friday, Gary Neville could have said, yes, it's right to sack him. And I think the board would have done it. So I think it's a total nonsense, that story, if I've got to be honest. Hazard threw Mourinho under the bus with his performances. This is Paul Robinson. Yeah, I think, you know what I think it is from Hazard, Paul? I think it's what rivals want. Rivals know that if United have got Mourinho in charge, United aren't a rival. So I think Hazard's saying, yeah, because Hazard's the favourite thing at the moment, isn't he? He's the flavour of the month. And a lot of people will listen to Hazard when he speaks. So when Hazard says, I'd love to play with Mourinho again, he's a great manager, that makes people subconsciously think, wow, Mourinho's really good. And it's all part of the plan. It's all part of the picture, isn't it? To keep Mourinho at United, because if it's like when Wenger was at Arsenal, we always used to say, "Oh yeah, give him a new contract. He's a great manager." It's all about trolling. The haters will always hate. They will. Stephen Featley says, "Talk about Sir Alex's return needs to stop. Fans need to stop living in the past. Football has moved on." Thanks for the contribution, Stephen. Kyle says that Hazard is playing mind games. I'm really enjoying doing this Saturday night thing. We are going to try and do it more and more, so please do drop a like on the video. I know it's not a Skype show, but Saturday Night Live was never a Skype show anyway. It was really just bang, 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 interact with the live comments. What do you think about Roy Keane as a director of football, Mark, says Roy Rees? I don't think Roy Keane's got anywhere near the acumen to be director of football. A director of football, for me, is not involved in the playing side at all. They're not involved in the motivational side at all, which is what Roy Keane would do. They are completely about knowing the world of football and bringing in the right players to play for our football club. They're more of a professor. They're not hands-on. They are a professor of football, and they obviously have to have knowledge about football. It's a bit like Moneyball, that film with Brad Pitt, isn't it? That's what a director of football is there for. It's to look at the talent around the world and look at what needs to come in. They've got to know football, but they don't really have anything to do with the players themselves other than getting them into the club and whether they'd fit in United. That's for the manager to do. So it wouldn't be Roy Keane for me. Don Marsh, yeah, Hazard was one of the players who got Mourinho the boot. Fergie would thrive in today's football, but because of his health issues, it would be cruel to ask him to come back, says Bio20. And I really hate how long our board is taking to sack Mourinho, says Black God. Do you think the club should wait to sack Mourinho after they appoint a director of football, says Neil Mallow. Well, apparently Zidane wouldn't want to work with a director of football either. After this season, I would take the Wolves manager, says Vince Chapman. Very close to Mourinho, though, so I don't think it would happen. If you could put 3 legends from Sir Alex Ferguson's era, who would you put in and why, says Faraz. Well, if you're bringing 3 players back in their prime, again, I would look at the midfield area. So I would probably take 2. I would stick Keane and Scholes with Pogba, what a midfield that would be. And then my third one would probably be Vidic or Ferdinand, because, yes, I'd love to have a Ronaldo. I'd love to have a Beckham or a Giggs or a Rooney prime, and I'd love to have an Evra and people like that. But actually, looking at where United's problems are at the moment, I think we've got attackers that if they had the right midfielder behind them, like a Pogba, Scholes and Keane, they'd be fine. And I think if you put a Vidic or a Ferdinand next to an Eric Bailly, we'd be fine. For me, the midfield needs the work, then the centre-back, then the forward line. That's where I would go. But it's a great question. It's one of the best. It's a thumbs up from me. It's a great question. Holland are destroying Germany, says Timo. Yeah, international football. I enjoyed international football in the World Cup, but not now. Not now. Anaban, I don't think Sir Alex Ferguson would go near Fellaini. He never really bought a player like that. Dion Dublin was the only one I really remember him having, but Dion Dublin was actually, he could play centre-back, he could play centre-forward, he was quite good on the ball, very different player, but Sir Alex never went for that donkey, tall player. He never really had players like that. He wanted to play football. Some of them flopped. I mean, I remember Veron, that was amazing, but BKDL Limited says, I would go Rooney, Scholes and Ferdinand. Look, definitely. Zahil Joshi says, what's latest, bro? Well, it's a Saturday night Q&A, so we've just been taking your questions, really. But what we were also talking about at the start of the show is, how long will Mourinho last? My prediction is that we will lose to Chelsea, we will beat Everton, we will draw with Bournemouth, and we will lose to Man City. And because of what everybody else is doing and the fixtures they've got, that would put us 13 points behind City and Liverpool, 15 behind Chelsea, and 9 behind Arsenal in 4 games' time, which would be disgraceful, wouldn't it? 9 points off top 4, 15 points off the top at the start of November. That would surely be the end. So, and that's what I predict will happen. We can beat Chelsea, says Nicole Rogers. Just have an undershow. Shadow Hazard, no Fellaini, McTominay. We need quick midfielders to deal with Chelsea's midfield. Nicole, look, we'll be talking about Chelsea next week as we're building towards it, but I worry about the Chelsea game simply because their midfield options of Kante, Jorginho, Barkley, Kovacic are much better than our midfield. Their defence is quite strong, and then they've got Hazard, Willian, who can cause our fullbacks problems. Obviously up front they're a little bit weak, but I think Chelsea's a hard game for us. Even if we were top of the league playing fantastically well, that would be a hard game for us. In our current state, it's almost mission impossible, which means if we win it, I'm excited. I'm excited because I think we're all expecting the worst. Imagine if we did pull off a result. I think it would be amazing. But I think Mourinho will go and try and get a draw. I think that's what he'll do because for him, that's a brilliant result. For us, it's not good enough. We need 3. Carlo Ancelotti won't be coming to us, Zeppelin. He's only just gone to Napoli. I think Wenger is a terrible choice for Manchester United, Niwesh, to be honest. McCallfield Liam, who's a Chelsea fan, says if I was offered one player as a Chelsea fan, I would take Martial. Look, that doesn't surprise me. You're not the only one to say that. So many of our rivals, whether they're Chelsea, Liverpool, City, Arsenal fans, they'd love Anthony Martial at their club. And I know he gets a lot of stick from some United fans and he gets a lot of stick from rivals, but actually they see him as a quality player that they could get the best out of, much the same as me and many United fans. He's a brilliant player. And I'd put Pogba in that category, and I'd put Eric Bailly in that category, and I'd also put Marcus Rashford in that category. I just think under this manager, they're being suffocated. How long will it take for us to win a title, says Pankaj? Well, we've got to get a new manager in. We've got to be patient. It's so sad when I answer that question, Pankaj, because when Mourinho came in, the only thing that the big thing that excited me about Mourinho is he will win us a title. That's what excited me. And obviously that's not going to happen. So the next manager, whoever it is, we can't actually say they're going to win the title because it's a big job. It's a massive job. It becomes a harder job with every manager. And I think Mourinho did well in his first 2 years. He gave us some progress. He steadied the ship, but it's sinking again now. Moyes had an easier job than anybody and destroyed it. Van Gaal came in and, didn't do very well. Mourinho came in, steadied the ship, and now it's sinking again. So whoever comes in next, it's a huge job. It's a huge job. What about Van der Sar as the director of football, says Sidant. I wouldn't mind Van der Sar. I mean, he's a bit wet behind the ears, but he knows the club. I wouldn't mind him. Andrew Ellis says Pereira would be world class if Jose was sacked. Can you imagine if we brought a manager in who plays on the front foot, who doesn't care about the opposition like Laurent Blanc and plays his own brand of football, and they start using Fred and Pereira and Martial and Rashford and Pogba in the right way? I'd be so excited. I don't mind if we lose. I don't want to lose games, but I don't mind losing games if we play the right way. The frustrating thing at the moment is we win games playing the wrong way, but then when we lose games playing the wrong way, it's just irritating. I don't want Allegri. Do not want Allegri. What if we win against Chelsea, Man City, and all in October? Then Pogba stays in January. Kunal. If that happens, I think we'll be all ecstatic, won't we? There's nothing I want more than to be wrong. There's nothing I want to be wrong. Nothing that I want more than to be wrong. I want Manchester United to win every single game between now and Christmas. I want Pogba and Mourinho to be going out pissed up on the United Christmas party, which is never going to happen because Pogba doesn't drink. But, he can have a Coke and Mourinho can have the red wine. But I want that to happen. But I'm a realist and I can't see it happening. And because I can't see it happening and I can only see it getting worse, that's why I want a change to happen. If in 2 months' time we're in the top 4, we're playing really good football and everyone's happy, I'm more than happy to look back on these videos and say, got it wrong. And everyone who's with me now got it wrong. It doesn't make us nasty or wrong. Well, it does make us wrong. It doesn't make us bad people. I mean, football, I've been following football for over 30 years. And one thing that's consistent is football is that your opinions can change week to week, let alone month to month, because football can change overnight. So how you feel now, based on the evidence of the last 8 months, if you're Mourinho out, I think you've got every right to be. But in 3 months' time, that could change and swing completely the other way, and you'd be like, I back this manager. I mean, to be honest, if he turns it round from this situation, he deserves our backing. He would deserve our loyalty and backing for probably another 3 years, because we'd always say, well, remember that bad 8 months we had? And he turned that around. So, it would be amazing if he did do it. Absolutely amazing. And I'd love it to happen. I'd love to be wrong, but I don't think I will be because I just can't see it. I can't see it in a million years. Thoughts about Rodgers more likely as new manager, says JSRNSN. Thanks for the contribution, pal. If we're talking about Brendan Rodgers, it would be a bloody nightmare on so many levels. I think he's a bit of a plonker. He's a bit of a Rodney off Only Fools and Horses, and he used to manage Liverpool, so no from me. VME is laughing because I said another 3 years, but you know what I mean. I know we're in a horrible position at the moment, and I suspect it's going to get worse, but imagine if we did win our next 4 games and got results against Juventus, and then the fixtures get slightly easier after that until Christmas, and we win most of those. We're sat there in New Year, firmly in the top 4, playing really good football. We'd have to be behind Mourinho then. We'd have to be changed. I don't think we, as I said before, we don't want to deal in absolutes. You don't want to always be, nothing can change me. What have I said for the last 2 years? I was the one backing Mourinho, and you lot were all going, oh, when are you going to ever just turn on him? He's rubbish, he's bad for the club. And I was like, no, he hasn't done enough yet. I can't see myself being Mourinho out, but never say never. Well, what am I now? I am doing it based on evidence. I'm not going to be stubborn about any opinion I have about football, because football's taught me over the last 3 decades that you can't be 100% about something, because it can change. It can change. It shouldn't change after one event, but it can change after another event. But I must say, not for 1 minute do I think it will be. And it is a very big wish, Michael Jones. I think I'd need to use up all 3 of my genie wishes after I'd rub the lamp, if to be honest, to get that. Mad Greek Outdoors says, I trust Mourinho and I'm waiting for the haters to eat some humble pie. You know what, though, just on that, and it's not just the Mourinho thing, I think it's a bigger picture here. If Mourinho turns it round in 3 or 4 months and you come back and say, sit down, haters, I told you I was right, I don't think you would be right. I think what you are at the moment is deluded. And I hope you end up being right, but based on the evidence of the last 8 months, you're deluded. There is no evidence or reason to think that a man that's lost the dressing room, is playing crap football and takes no blame, is going to turn this situation round. That's why the vast majority of people are at this moment in time Mourinho out. If he changes it round in 3 months, then most of those people would be like, he's playing good football, he's got the dressing room back, we're finally doing things the United way. Everyone would then be, yeah, let's give them a chance. So you coming along and saying, ha ha ha, sit down haters, you got it wrong. Well, we got it wrong based on what? We are basing our opinion on a reluctant batch of evidence. Nobody wants United to be sacking another manager. No one wants United to be the banter club that we are at the moment. We want to be successful. But you saying, well, I'll be there going, sit down haters when he turns it round. Where's your evidence it's going to turn round? It's just a lucky guess. It's a punt. And if your punt's right, great. But I wouldn't accept you going, I was right all along, because I just don't think you've got the evidence to back it up with at the moment, other than a hunch. But I do hope you're right, like I say. How about blaming the players as well? I think the players have got a responsibility, yes. But football's not about the players, is it? It's never the players who get the sack. It's the manager who gets the sack. And I think there is a big issue with some of these players. This will be the 3rd manager that have been sacked. A lot of them, most of them with the 2nd manager that has been sacked under them. So they have got a responsibility. As I said, Allegri is a manager who goes into a club that's successful and rejuvenates it. He can't come to United and deal with this squad that isn't winners. They're not winners, this squad. They're not proper winners. They might have won a Carabao Cup and a Europa League, but they're not proper winners. They've not won titles and stuff like that. And that's where I think Allegri would struggle. Do I think that Chong and Gomez will make it into the squad, let alone the starting 11? Castro, that's a great thumbs up comment. Never in a million years. You look at Jadon Sancho, what he's doing at Dortmund. He's around the same age as those 2 players, and he's playing for England, and he's making waves doing bits at Dortmund. Pereira is 22 and can't get in the United team. What chance have Chong and Gomez got of getting anywhere near a Jose Mourinho team? They never would do. They never were meant to. It's not what he does. Are they ready? Should they be getting involved? Yes, they should. They probably should be on loan. But then, that's a whole different topic for Mourinho. At the moment, Mourinho needs to win football matches. What he's doing beyond that, the wider picture, in the transfer market, the players he's dropping, the youth he's bringing through, it's abysmal. And it's not going to get any better. It won't get any better. Anyway, I'm going to get off. I've been going for 45 minutes. Absolutely loved the show. Smash the like button, everybody, because you've all been superb. Absolutely brilliant, every single one of you. So please do drop a like on the video. If you want Saturday Night Live Q&A to come back every Saturday, it's brilliant. Really enjoyed it. FIFA, I don't know when I'm going to do FIFA again, Matt. I'm actually just going to go and have a one-off game now. But also, tomorrow night is Sunday Night Live. We should have Sophie and Flex on tomorrow, so make sure you join us for that live at 8 o'clock. Looking forward to that. And then we'll have the call-in on Monday night, which will definitely be happening on Monday. But thanks, everybody. I really enjoyed the show. And like I said, when do you think Jose Mourinho will go? Do you think he will go? As I said, I think in 4 games' time, we will be 9 points off 4th place and 15 points off 1st. Not good enough, is it? But there you go. Thanks for watching. Speak to you all soon. And a big applause and thumbs up to all of you. Really enjoyed it tonight. There is some shitty international football on, and you are here, the hardcore United standers. And if you're not watching live as well, a thumbs up to you. Fantastic community. And I really enjoyed the different comments we got tonight as well, because there are different sides. You're right. Fraser says, what if all this happens again in the future if Mourinho turns it round? There's no certainties in life, Fraser. One thing, it's going to be interesting. Let's see what happens. I'll see you soon.